Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to work on a reel that was made in 1989. This is a Shimano Mag 1000. It's a very nice reel. This one's in excellent condition. It's very clean. Kind of looks like, well, like it's 1989. Works nice and smooth and easy. The 1000 has got the narrowest of the spools and the least capacity, so it's going to be a good bassing reel, and it's going to be a good pond reel. But you're not going to go too deep with the capacities here. So we're going to show you how to take this apart, how to service it, and how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. Now, if you have a reel and you don't know the internals of the reel, I recommend that you go out onto the internet. It's a wonderful thing where you can find a lot of things like the schematic diagram for the reel. That's going to help you get a visual from a burst diagram to tell you what it's going to look like on the inside, so that when you take it apart, if you do have some trouble, well, you can pinpoint it, and if you need to order a part, it's going to give you the part numbers on there. Well, this channel is dedicated to giving reels a second chance, to showing you how to service the reel and keep it going for a long time to come, and to provide some education on fishing reels in general. And while I take these external pieces and parts off, if you like that kind of thing, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll let you know what I'm posting, when I'm posting, and you can see if it's something that you wish to watch. I'm using a 10mm wrench to take the handle nut off. We've removed the handle and the tension washer behind it, and now we're going to remove the star adjuster so that we can remove the case. This reel is a very nicely made reel for the time. When you think about it now, this reel's over 30 years old, almost 35 years old. And well, it's in very nice condition. It's got a lot of fishing left in it. This reel was actually sent in by Daniel. He's up in Connecticut, and well, we're going to do the service for him. In the early days of these low-profile bait casting reels, they didn't hide the screws. They didn't make anything look real fancy. They were all pretty much exposed. And we can see that there's 4 screws here. I'm just loosening them. They might fall out. When you take the screws out of your reel, you do want to make sure that they're all the same size. And if they're not the same size, you want to note the location for the smaller or the longer or the wider or whatever the variation may be in that. And then make sure that you reassemble it the same way. Right now it looks like maybe one of the screws might be different. With those 4 screws loosened, we should be able to remove it. Oh, I didn't get one all the way out here. When we do, we'll be able to take them out. And this is a good place to tell you, when you start removing these things, go ahead and take pictures. Those pictures will give you reference points or landmarks about when to what it looks like, when it looks like, and you can go from there. Okay, those 2 screws are the same. I got 2 more in here. Okay, all 4 screws appear to be the same, so that makes it easier. When I take my pieces and parts off, I put those into a parts tray. And as I mentioned, this is a good place to take a picture. We do have the advantage of having that schematic, but if you take a picture here, that's going to show you where the springs are. It'll show you this. This is actually out right now. It popped out. It's a spring load that belongs in that little stud in the back there. On this side, the case is clean. And when you're servicing a reel, you want to make sure that you clean it up. Case is clean. We have just a bushing there. We have an exposed bearing, and when I get the oil out for the bearings, we'll oil that and just put that to the side. And here's an example of my parts tray. You need to have a plan as you are working on fishing reels about what you're going to do with the parts that you take off. That's as important as being able to take the parts off and kind of knowing where they're going. Just going to keep this assembly out of the way for a moment. I'm going to remove my main gear assembly. I'm going to remove my pinion gear. I'm going to remove the click ratchet, which holds the anti-reverse. So those are basically the only pieces you need to remove here. This is the drive for the reel. This is your free spool release. Now if there was dirt and grease and grime in there, which there isn't, you would want to clean that out first and foremost. And once you do that, then you can oil. But in this case we could go right to the oil because, well, there isn't any dirt and grease in there. This is the pivot that's holding the return spring for your free spool, and it popped out of this little hole here. So we're going to try and work that back in here. And that's how that belongs. Now you're going to push down on the button, and then this click ratchet's going to fire this back up. Just like that. And this reel, is, as I mentioned, is very clean. We can take a moment here to grease the cog or the gear that's going to move that line guide assembly. And this is driven from the main gear side, which means when you disconnect the main gear and free spool, this is not going to move. So if you do go to cast, you want to center that line guide before you press down on the cast button. Most of fishing reel service and repair is simply cleaning, inspecting, replacing worn parts, and worn parts are usually like drag washers and the like, and relubrication. So that's what we're doing here. This is the anti-reverse dog. It's got a fork on it, or fingers. They go one on each side. I've cleaned up the dirt on the other side. So those fingers split this click ratchet. And then when you reinstall, you'll come over the top of your gear. You want to get your anti-reverse dog on that post. Bring that whole assembly down and make sure that it matches or meshes into this. Next, I like to service the pinion gear. Clean up all the old greases. Notice on one side of your pinion gear, you're going to have ramps. Those are going to face inside towards the spool. And on your pinion gear, you're going to have one side with a slot. That's going to face inside to the spool as well. Take a moment here to check the teeth. I kind of was doing that, but I want to tell you to do that. If the teeth are dirty, make sure that you clean them out of any dirt and debris, and then get a good amount of fishing reel grease on there. The slot and the ramps face in. In this case, the spool is only accessed from the other side, so you can mount this over the spool right now. And if it's not meshing into the spool, just turn the pinion gear a little bit. That will help you get to the meshing, and once it's meshed, you should be okay there. This is your main gear assembly. This one has a keyed washer that goes over the top. And we should have one on the bottom, one on the top here. You just want to inspect these drag washers, make sure that they are tight. These are kind of compressed. These are hard washers. You don't need to lubricate them, but you do need to make sure that they are clean and free of grease and debris. And you can see there's a good amount of grease that came out of that one. Go right back in and install that. I've noted that it's the downside. We should have a similar setup on this side. And we kind of have more of a fabric washer on this side, so we're going to use some dry grease on this one. If the cavity where this is resting is dirty, make sure that it gets cleaned. And I'm putting some drag washer grease on here. We'll bring that up to the top. Again, we can reset this whole piece here. Get grease out of the way. Check the teeth just like I did on the other one. Make sure that they're all in good condition. And then a good amount of grease. And again, fishing reel grease, please. I'm using Penn Precision Reel grease here, but please use fishing reel greases. And we can go ahead and put the rest of this back in. Merge it with your pinion gear. And then you'll notice that there was a round bushing, tension washer, flat washer. And then the only thing we need to do to close this side up then is to put those two yoke springs back on. We've set that spring pivot correct again, and we can close this side up. Just find your part with the slot that's going to be for your free spool release, and line them up and make sure that you merge in. And that it's a nice tight seal all the way around. We said that these 4 screws were all the same. It didn't matter which screw hole it goes into, so we're going to start on the one side and we'll go opposite with the other. And I think I'm going to use a micro screwdriver for this one because of the hole depth and kind of controlling that screw. It's good to have a variety of tools close at hand, just in case one doesn't work and you don't have to put your project down and go kind of hunt for the right tool. And as a result, I have a series of pliers and a series of screwdrivers close at hand, just in case one or the other is needed. This is the third one. We'll finish up this side, we'll go over to the spool side, and then we'll service the line guide as well. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck, just leave the question in the comments section here. Your question doesn't have to be about this reel. And if you leave that question in here, I will try to answer it. And generally, I do try to answer the questions in the morning. So if you're in the morning, you might have some luck. If you're not, don't worry it. And, well, chances are I'll answer it the following morning when you sign on. All right, the star adjuster's back on. The handle is back on. The handle nut goes on next. Now tighten down your star adjuster before you go any further. You don't want to trap that star adjuster when you're tightening down the handle. All right, that should be good. And if you're perpendicular with the flat spot to the hole, generally the hole on your cap will line up, which is what it's doing here. Grab the tie down nut for that, and this side is complete. Alright, we're going to turn our attention to the other side. We have the 4 screws here. We have the mag adjuster. We have a bearing in this side, which is one of the reasons why you want to get over here and do this. You also have the spool. The spool should be checked. And one more will loosen, and I'll use that micro driver to kind of finish this task out. You know, the last time I played around with it a little bit, so let's make sure all of these are. That one's being a little stubborn. There we go. I guess that's been sitting in there for quite some time. Don't rush anything, don't force anything. Generally, the results of both of those, rushing and forcing, are not good. So take your time, be patient. Have a sense of humor when things aren't going your way. Just take a deep breath, reset. All right. This is your button that came out. 4 screws. There's a little tension clip that goes here. And that's a good reason why you have the schematic, because it just didn't look right to me, and I just looked on a schematic, and it belongs on this side. Okay, I'll just set that aside for a moment. This whole assembly should come out now. Oh, we got one more. This is your spool. We have a bushing in the spool here. We have a bushing on that side. So all we really need to do with bushings is just a light grease application. Where it's going to spin. Don't get grease onto the piece where your mag is going to ride, because that'll be problematic. It'll cause a slip. We can put the spool back in. Now there is one little indentation here on this mag drive. You'll see it right here. That's going to go around this post here. When you seat it, we can bring the next part of the assembly over. This wheel has the two cam pieces in it. There we go, seat that. We know we have our tension ring. We have our side case. And just like the other, you need a nice tight snap. Make sure that it's held firm. And in this case, we did have one screw that's longer than the others. It belongs down here if you weren't taking notes. Let's go ahead and tighten these screws, and then we'll just take a look at that pawl and line guide, and we will have completed the service on this reel. Very nice reel. As I mentioned, for the time, I think it had a lot of features and functions to it for 1989. And well, the Bantams are still among the best made. A lot of the changes in these reels, well, you saw some here. This one has bushings, not bearings. Most of the modern bait casters have substituted the bearings for the bushings now. Other than that, the principles are essentially the same. Okay, one more thing to check. With the reel buttoned up and everything looking well, let's just remove the cap that's holding on our pawl. The line guide is nice and clean. Everything in this reel is very clean. There's a little hole in the center of the pawl that should enable us to pull this out pretty easily. There's a washer there that goes inside the cap. Don't lose that. And then your pawl is out. And again, this kind of looks like the rest of the reel. Very clean, probably lightly used. Check the teeth on the pawl. Make sure they're even. Check the shoulders. Make sure they're free of dirt. Again, if your worm gear was dirty, you can put a piece of paper towel or something wadded up, and then turn the reel, and that'll clean that out for you. In this case, I don't see anything in that, so don't have to go far there. Then take your pawl and reinsert that into the carrier. And to set the pawl, hold your finger on it, turn the worm gear until you are flush down. We know that we have that little washer that I put in the cap. You can either center it in the cap like I've done here, or you can put it onto the pawl before you reinstall the cap. Your choice. Set your pawl or your cap carrier in place. Tighten it down. Make sure you're not cross-threading it. These are plastic pieces, so kind of gentle with them. All right, let's give it a final test then. That's working nicely. Everything seems to be turning nice and smooth. Here's your casting. You have a cast control knob over here. You can tighten or loosen that will regulate the speed. You also have your mag adjuster on this side, which will enable you to do the same. Take it off or put it on depending on the amount of tension that you would like. Make sure your free spool release comes back. Wow, that's smooth. That is a really nice low profile bait caster. 35 years old, and boy, it's running nicely. Oh, I hope you've enjoyed it. That's how to take this reel apart, how to service it, a little bit about how it was made, and well, how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. I hope you've enjoyed that. I want to take a moment to thank our police, fire, safety, and rescue folks and all the folks that are involved in keeping us out of harm's way. And I want to wish everybody a great time on the water, fun with your fishing reel service and repair, and well, treasure the friends that you meet while you're out there fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.